Well, in the contemporary literature on fine-tuning, there are basically three explanatory options. Either physical necessity, that these constants and quantities must have the values they do, that it's not contingent, or secondly, chance, and the form that this normally takes would be a kind of multiverse hypothesis, and then an appeal to an observer selection, self-selection effect, that we can only observe universes that are finely tuned for our existence, so we shouldn't be surprised that somewhere in the infinite multiverse that we should appear in such a universe. And then the third one would be design, that there is an intelligence that has designed the universe. And Roger's a special contribution, I think, to this has been to place a very significant objection and question mark behind the explanation of the multiverse hypothesis with the self-selection effect. Because if we were just a random member of a multiverse, we ought to be observing a much different universe than we do.
I want to come to that. I mean, first of all, on this question of fine-tuning, which again, we might be worth just spelling out a little bit for the audience. Yes. You've yourself have contributed interestingly to this. There's a certain aspect of reality, the initial low entropy distribution of mass and energy. Now, yes. Without getting too technical at this point, this is essentially the idea you were sort of alluding to earlier, that at that very earliest moment, that singularity in Big Bang cosmology, there's an incredible amount of order versus the disorder, the entropy that appears later on, that needs to be there in order for a life-sustaining universe to be possible. In fact, you put this extraordinary number on it of the precision needed to be 1 in 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 123, which I'm told is, if you were to try to write that down there and you put a 0 on every single particle in the observable universe, you still wouldn't have enough zeros.
Nowhere
on this.
Close.
and so yes. This is mind-boggling stuff, but it appears that as though someone, as you know, who was it who said that someone's been monkeying with the physics? Hoyle, Fred Hoyle said it looks as though, as Bill has said, some sort of design is there to ensure that we got here. Now, what do you say to that idea?
Well, I'm agnostic, I would say, on that one. You see, it's not clear to me. I mean, people talk about even the mass ratio between the proton and the neutron, and the fact that the neutron is just a little bit more massive than the proton, and it goes that way rather than the other way around, and so on. But it's very difficult to, since we only know one kind of life, you see, or one kind of the production of consciousness, it may be very rare throughout the universe. I mean, the numbers may not all be all that good. You see, you can imagine fiddling with them so that there were consciousnesses all over the place. You see, I don't know. You see, we don't know enough about that, and there are some nice examples from science fiction which show different I like the one, Fred Hoyle's idea of the black cloud, you see, where this was a completely different way of imagining a conscious being, which was this huge cosmic cloud which communicated, I guess, by electromagnetic signals and things like this. The other story which I like to refer to is one by Robert Forward, which was a Dragon's Egg, I think was the name of the story, where there was a neutron star which came close to the sun, and the people on the Earth went to explore it, and it turned out that there were living beings on this neutron star, which instead of using chemistry, they used nuclear processes. And this means that their lives and evolution took place millions of times faster than us. And how you can make a story with this complete imbalance was an amazing achievement, I thought. But they even had a religion which took place in the Cheelers, which were the inhabitants of this neutron star. And when the Earth thing came close to them, they built their complete religion on the star, which appeared, you see, in the
So do you think it's I mean, these are obviously stories, but do you think it's possible in a sense that some sort of conscious reality could exist even in the absence of the physical sort of
Well, it could have-
carbon-based life that we obviously need.
It could have been done very differently, in a totally different. You see, there are many different parts of the universe where the physics is very different from what it is on the Earth, and maybe a different kind of life could have evolved there. And I have no idea. Just that we don't know. There are puzzles,
right,
which look like coincidental things. One of the first ones was Hoyle's thing about the energy level of carbon, which if it hadn't been there, then you couldn't have got beyond evolution.
Well, Bill, what's your response to these sorts of ways of dealing with the fine-tuning?
Well, this is fascinating to me because, as I understand you, Roger, you're not advocating either physical necessity nor chance via the multiverse hypothesis and self-selection effect, nor design, but rather you would simply deny the fact of fine-tuning altogether, that the universe is not fine-tuned for embodied
I think deny is too
conscious.
strong. I say I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And to me, that is highly implausible. We just find example after example of fine-tuning in contemporary physics, and it seems to me to be a desperate expedient to deny that it exists. In the absence of fine-tuning, there wouldn't even be matter. There wouldn't be chemistry. So the idea that other forms of life would evolve, I think, is logically possible, but it's not, I think, the most plausible solution to the problem.
Well, I mean, we just know so little about what constitutes life and how it. I mean, we have the universe we have, and you could imagine fiddling with the numbers and making them. To what extent that freedom is even there mathematically isn't clear. I think we just know. I mean, I can see the arguments, and I can see there's a case for the arguments to say that, okay, from certain points of view, it looks as though there are accidental things about the constants of nature which have allowed things to happen which, if they hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here. And that's true. But maybe some other thing would be here which could have. It's not at all clear to me.
I was wondering whether the conformal cyclical model in any way sort of does the job of a multiverse, in as much as, well, if the universe has sort of had these rebirths time and time and time again, perhaps we're living in the one that was habitable for human life.
That's a possibility, yes. You see, there could be an evolution of constants. I mean, this was an idea that John Wheeler put forward, not with this model, but with other models, with the sort of bouncing universe models, that maybe each time there was a new set of constants produced, and they were different each time, and we happened to be living in the particular eon, if I could use that word here, in which the constants happen to suit the kind of life, at least, that we experience.
So that's potentially a solution.
Well,
what do you think, Bill?
That solution seems to me to fall prey to the very argument that you give against using the anthropic principle with respect to the multiverse, because what you've done in trying to push the conformal cyclical model to past infinity is, in effect, establish a multiverse, except it's sequentially ordered rather than simultaneous. And in that case, then the question is, why do we observe a fine-tuned universe like this instead of the one which is unfathomably more probable, that is, say, no larger than our solar system, a patch of order that is that big? That would be unfathomably more probable than a fine-tuned universe. And indeed, maybe we're all just Boltzmann brains with illusions, illusions of the external world around us. Why? It falls prey to this very objection that you've raised.
No, it's an answer. You see, I'm not giving this answer because I don't like it.
Okay, so this isn't your favourite.
It's not my favourite, but it is a possible answer.
Right.
That the eons are different, that the numbers differ. They can't differ by very much from observational point of view. But some of them don't differ by very much, but they could differ and they could evolve. Yes, it's certainly possible.
But
I
then
don't like it, but it's a possibility.